Well, this actually segues nicely into a topic because as we sit here, I'm going to be married in 12 days.
Really?
Now, dude, you've been married 5 times.
Yeah.
Advice? Give me something to hang on to.
Don't do it.
No.
Straight from Bob Thornton. Don't do it, dude.
I'm totally joking. Marriage is a wonderful thing for like 12 days.
Right.
Marriage is actually great if you marry the right person. And I've married the right person 5 times.
Yes, you did.
It's really good.
Well, do they change after you get married to them? Is that what happens? Is that like it's a different person once they get the ring on their finger?
Well, that's what they say. That's the old story. But the people that I was married to, honestly, are most of them. I'm still. That's funny that I can say most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them I'm still very close with, good friends with, and they're really good people. It's just that you wake up one day and say, why do we get married? We're friends. What are we doing married? And it just wasn't the right thing. But I actually believe in marriage. I mean, I think it's a great thing, and I think it can work out great for people. And I know friends who have great
Do you think you'll get married again?
Yeah, would there be a 6?
And you know what? Simply because of the numbers, it's like Robbie Robertson said on the Last Waltz movie. He goes, after a while, man, the numbers they just start to scare the hell out of you.
It's like
so I think I'm gonna probably maybe I won't do that again, but I wouldn't mind living with somebody forever.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, like after the 3rd one, you might think, I know I love this girl, but maybe marriage just isn't my strong suit.
Right.
Maybe,
Yeah.
Did that go through your head before number 4 or 5 even? Or do you just have that positive attitude going into all of them?
Well, I've most of the times when I've been married, it happened very quickly.
Yeah.
And it's like, you go bowling, then next thing you know, you're married.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have a lot of time to think most of the time. I always got married very quickly. I'm a sort of spontaneous guy, and the people that I was around were spontaneous people too, and it just happened that way. But like I said, I had great experiences in my marriages.
How much of a struggle is monogamy?
That answers it all right there. He drops the microphone.
No, it's
Just don't go to New Orleans.
No, I've actually been very monogamous in a couple of my relationships.
They just happen to be at the same time.
Yeah, right, exactly. Right. But I don't have a problem with monogamy if I'm with the right person. I really don't. The only times, when I fell apart, or any time that anything ever happened in those terms, was when it was already over.
Yeah.
It wasn't like during it and when it was good. I mean, if things are good, I have no problem being monogamous. Yeah, I have trouble saying it.
Billy Bob Thornton is here. You've had so many great ideas, not counting your 5 marriages, but and work with with music and with movies. Can you think of your worst idea? One that we maybe never even heard about? What was your worst? Where you thought maybe you were having a couple cocktails, like, that's a great idea.
That's
and then
a good
the next
question.
day you're like,
good idea for a movie? Oh, yeah. Very early on, Tom Epperson, who was my old writing partner, he and I wrote One False Move together, and The Gift, and A Family Thing. And Tom and I grew up in Arkansas together, and the movie that we first started pitching around town when we actually got a real agent and we were doing big pitches for the studios, we actually had an alien movie pitch that was a comedy, and I don't remember it now, but I just remember the opening line of the pitch was always, "Imagine the Earth from space." And we had this stupid idea. It was something about these aliens that landed in Kansas, and then I think actually Tim Burton, I ended up doing a movie kind of like it, but ours wasn't as clever as his.
Do you have a studio in your house?
We recorded pretty much this whole record at my house.
That's awesome.
And we cut 2 songs at Sun in Memphis just because we wanted that vibe. There's a song there called Everybody Lies. We love it at Sun, yeah.
That must have been almost a religious experience, just being at
just
Sun
to feel
Records,
the vibe.
Yeah, it is.
What kind of stuff do they have on the walls there? What kind of memorabilia?
Well, you know what's funny about Sun? Because I've known the people there for a long time, and I've cut demos there over the years. So I've been there a lot, and know the guy there, James Lott, who's the engineer. That place is when they say something hasn't changed, you're always like, yeah, well, whatever.
Right.
It really hasn't.
Really?
It's just, the place looks like a wreck, and it's tiny. It's smaller than this room here. And it's a very narrow room. And what's funny about it, son, you have to record there at night, which I like to do anyway. And we're always up till dawn the next day there because we have a party in there, frankly. But during the day, they give tours of it. And the tour, if you can imagine, you come in a room smaller than we're in right now and, going for a tour, well, you don't have to go anywhere else. It's not like now step over into the so-and-so room.
You just walk in.
You just walk in, and they play a tape on an old tape machine that tells you the story of Sun Records. You just stand there and listen to it. But what they have in there, they have pictures of, Carl Perkins and Elvis and Jerry Lee and everybody on the wall. But they have some of the old amps and some of the microphones that they actually use. So there's a microphone in there that Elvis sang on. So that's cool.
That's cool.
And but the really funny thing is that tourists can come in during the daytime and they play a track. It's like karaoke. They'll play a track of like an Elvis song or Jerry Lee Lewis song, and they can get at the microphone and sing it themselves, and they record it, burn them a CD for like $10 or $12
On his microphone.
Wow.
On
Well,
Elvis's
no,
microphone.
I thought you were saying on the historic mic.
I guess
was like,
so.
wow.
No, not on that. Just on a regular microphone. But it gives the people the tourists a way to have their own CD with them singing
On the
"Suspicious
Sun label,
Minds"
right?
on a Sun label, right?
That is kind of cool.
And,
Have you been to Graceland?
Oh yeah.
Does Billy Bob Thornton get a private tour, or do you have to go in with all the masses?
I get a private tour, but I still haven't gotten to the pinnacle of that, which is you get the upstairs tour.
No one
gets that.
They won't let anybody up there. But, I know Red West pretty well and a few of the people. And I'm a friend of Sun and the Elvis camp, So one of these days I'm hoping I'll get it.
Please call us when you get up
I
there.
will.
Because
Were you
I got to know what's going on.
Yeah.
up there.
I will let you know.
The first time you went to Graceland, were you somewhat underwhelmed? Because by today's
was.
standards, you hear about movie stars' homes today, and
Right.
it's quite frankly is
not that.
underwhelming.
Well, it is. The shocking thing about it is it's so small.
That's what blew me away.
You
tiny.
think it's going to be huge, and it's not that big a place.
Well, that's because we're used to seeing Oprah's house on TV.
Well,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying?
But when
Yeah.
you think of Elvis, the biggest figure, in pop culture, you
I
expect
know.
something else.
Right, you really do. I think the thing that people really get into when they go there is like when you get to see the rooms that were a little different. Like the room that's like a diner. He's got downstairs. That was kind of cool. And then the jungle room. That kind of thing. But like you said, compared to. Well, can you imagine what some of the really, really wealthy rappers' homes must look like?
Oh, my
it's
God.
We see him on Cribs.
yeah.
Elvis didn't need that jungle room to close the deal.
No.
I mean, it was Elvis.
Yeah.
I bet every room in that house could talk and tell a lot of stories.
Yeah, and it's like my lobster room. I have a lobster room. Yeah, that's where I bring the chicks.
Yeah.
Who were some of your musical heroes as a kid?
I loved everything from George Jones and Hank Williams and Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison. I loved the whole Sun bunch. Ray Price and Jim Reeves too. Charlie Rich, who was like kind of the unsung hero of Sun in those days. But I listened to J.J. Cale. The Allman Brothers, my favorite band of all time. A huge Beatles fan. I was a Beatles guy as opposed to a Stones guy, simply because I thought they were just so damn brilliant. There's something about that writing.
A lot of people don't know that in the 60s, you were either a Beatles fan or a Stones fan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our band, when I was a kid, we played Beatles songs, and we actually played Beatles and Dave Clark 5. I love the Dave Clark 5.
Yeah.
And I went through all the changes with the Beatles when they became more into their psychedelic era,
right.
the whole thing. I was there all the way. And I had the Beatles models and the dolls and all the stuff, But I was a big fan of Cream and Blind Faith and Derek and the Dominoes, that whole Clapton through line there, Zeppelin, The Who.
The whole British invasion
The whole
thing.
British invasion. I was a big fan of the whole British invasion.
Did you ignore the hairband era?
Yes,
Did you let that go?
definitely.
Let the 80s out?
But, I'm a big fan of Metallica. I've always liked Metallica. I'm a big AC/DC fan.
Billy Bob Thornton, we appreciate your time.
Oh, thank
This
you
was
so
blast.
much.
This was cool. Thanks,
Blast.
Billy
I
Bob.
know you're so busy, and we appreciate you
Oh, gosh,
taking
no.
30 minutes.
Thank you.